Hello guys, welcome back to What's News. I'm J77 here, and I'm going to get right straight to it. There's a lot of topics I want to talk about. I'm going to go to New York first because a lot of stuff is going on. As you know, we have a mayor race happening and it's full steam ahead, and so far, unless something major dramatic happens, and if these polls are true, and keep in mind, these are just poll numbers. God knows they can change with a blink of an eye. But from what I've been seeing and what all the news has been reporting, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. Now, before we go on, we have two candidates. One, everybody is pretty much saying is shoe-in to win. Even Fox News is not even bothering making full coverage of this. You would think they would in the area, but they're not really doing it. They're pretty much more worried about what's going on internationally than what's going on in New York at the time, and that's a lot of reasons. A lot of people do not feel that Loha, that's L-O as LHOTA has any chance of winning. In fact, the voters poll is pretty much a blowout, which is something that hasn't happened in New York pretty much since when Bloomberg first ran. He ran and he pretty much won out very easily, but we didn't have that big of a gap since then. And right now, if the elections were held and won today, Blasio would have won against Joe 64% to 23%. But the strange thing about this, guys, is the numbers and what people are voting for is very, very telling here. I spoke to my aunt about their feelings on both candidates, and I've spoken to even some of my friends as well as those who are even Republicans and what they feel. And surprisingly, even the Republicans feel that his views are way out there, way extreme. They respect him for being honest, but at the same time, it is very clear that a lot of the views are pretty much could hurt the city more than help the city. I'll let you guys, especially those who are New Yorkers who are watching or listening to this video, be the side of that. But definitely, if you look at the polls, which by the way, I will leave a link to the article, which is AM. They have done the report and done a very good job of doing the cover here. But it basically says here between the two candidates, de Blasio and Joe Loha, all voters pretty much it goes like this: if on economics and jobs, 56% believe that Bill can do a better job versus 32%. Public education is huge. I mean, very, very huge. 83% to 8%. They have no confidence in Joe, to actually address the educational system. Affordable housing, again, another big issue in New York. A huge issue in New York. 79% believe that Blasio can do the job versus 8% that Joe Loha can do the job. Crime and safety seem to be the only one they're pretty much neck and neck. It seems like in all polls, that seemed to be the one that a lot of people feel the Republicans do a better job in, and they have on record done a better job in terms of crime. 47% believe that Blasio will do a job, but 40% believe that also Loha can do a better job. Cost of living, again, 71% versus 19%. Taxes and city fees. This is where Loha actually won out. 40% for that believe that Blasio will do a fine job. 47% believe that Loha will do a fine job. So there's one poll that they have done. They've done a lot on this paper. They have done a whole lot when they're covering this, and let's just go on to the situation and show you the pattern here. There's a pie chart here that I'm looking at as I'm speaking right now, and it shows de Blasio supporters. This is something that's very telling here, and pretty much it's identical towards the Loha supporters. 33% like the candidate's ideas. 21% believe there are no better alternatives. 17% think the candidates can get the job done. 16% candidate represents change. So notice the low point that 60% believe that he represents change in this pie chart. Now you also got the ones that are on that is pretty much in the lows in single digits. 2% just don't know. 4% like the candidate's personality. 7% like the candidate experience. That's a very, very telling there. And now you go to Loha, Joe Loha supporters, and you get the following here. And let's just read it right here. 39% believe there's no better alternative. That is the highest that you see right there. You notice they didn't say like the candidate's ideas. That is the highest in this whole pie chart. 22% like the candidate experience, which is something that was very, very low in the Democratic side. 19% believe that the candidate can get things done. 15% likes the ideas. Let's go to the ones that are in single digits. 1% just don't know. 1% likes the candidate personality, which is very, very telling. 3% believe that the candidate represents change. So you notice how that is in the single digits versus what Bill de Blasio has in his pie chart. So that's a lot. Even though there's two similar pie charts, two totally different takes on the two candidates, it really shows where people for both Democrats and Republicans sees some of these candidates, and it's even more telling in a line pie chart. Yeah, they did their research on this, which I gotta respect from a free newspaper. They really went out and showed the difference between both parties and what and why this lead is so big for one and not for the other. This one is a pie chart that represents candidates and the issues. And here it is. De Blasio, 71% versus 11% said he is the voice of change versus Lauder, which is only 11%. Will prioritize education in public school, 60% for Blasio. Joe only got 18%. Shares your value, 63% believe that Blasio does. Only 23% believe that Aloha does. Will focus on each of the 5 boroughs equally. 58% believe that de Blasio will, while only 21% says that Aloha will. Cares about the people like you, which is a very interesting poll. 58% believe that Aloha does. 20% believe 20% believe Aloha does. 58% believe that de Blasio does. Will create jobs and improve the economy. This is also very interesting. 52% believe that Blasio does. Only 28% believe that Aloha does. You notice he hasn't been winning much in this chart. Get things done. 49% believe that de Blasio will. 29% believe that Aloha does. Will be a strong leader. This is where he started to actually lead into the situation. Would be strong leader during a crisis such as hurricane or terrorist attack. 42% believe that Aloha does, but interesting enough, 36 believe that Aloha will. Blasio got 42%, but what's very interesting is that 36%, a lot of people do strongly believe that he will step up to the plate when something like this arises. So that's actually a good thing that you see that numbers rise up, because keep in mind, I haven't even touched 30 yet. And he got 36% here. Now this is where he actually won the last two. He did actually got something there. And this is something, again, when it comes to crime and public safety, it seems the Republicans do a good job with that in that category, especially in New York. Will be tough on crime and improve public safety. 41% believe that de Blasio will. Aloha, 43%. So even though it's a 2% difference, it is still a big difference. And it does still is a telling in New York City that people do believe that the Republicans, when it comes to crime and safety, they are the people to turn to in that category. Now, here's something that I actually it's very interesting how they actually put this up here, the last one. And it also tells us how much New Yorkers are pretty much don't want to go back to that administration. But it says here, will continue Michael Bloomberg's policies. 14% believe that Blasio will. 68% believe that Aloha will. I got news for you. Nobody wants to see another Bloomberg administration. We had 12 years of that. Nobody wants to see that. So that is not an advantage at all for Aloha to have in that poll. It's really not. And it's very, very telling. And especially since all the candidates are trying to distance themselves from not being the next Bloomberg. They really don't. But it is a very, very telling of what lies ahead for long if he ever wants to actually have a chance to win. He still has a few weeks to turn it around, but this is something he has to convince people. And so far, from what I've seen, from what a lot of people have seen, even from some of his Republican supporters seen, they don't see that happening. Like I said, Fox is not covering him as much as you thought they would. They're just not. And in their own opinion, he doesn't have a chance to win anyway, so what's the point? Another thing that has also been hurting him is some of the stuff that has happened in terms of the voting demographic. And again, this is showing from the party lines here. And this is something that says here, the all voters 64-23 for Democrats, 75-12, Republican 18-68. So you have that. So he is going to have a majority of Republicans vote for him, whether they like him or not. But this is where it really comes down to here, the independents. And right now, the independents aren't feeling him. 51-35. That is a big, big, big difference there. So he may get he will overall get the overall Republican vote, but the independent votes is something he desperately needs if he has any shot of turning it around. Another thing that is that this chart will show is the race factor, which I'm taking it as a grain of salt for one reason. I'll show you. In terms of white voters, 50% is for de Blasio, 39% is for John Loja. The Latino is 75% to 12%, and this is how much the African Americans are not feeling the Republicans right now. This is a very big number. African Americans, if they were to vote, 83% will vote for the Democrat, by 1% will vote for the Republican opponent here, and that is simply not good. And this is largely because what's going on, not just with Loja, but again about that situation, with the overall environment of the Republican Party in general, specifically the Tea Party, which I will be getting to later on in this What's News podcast. But needless to say, that is a very big difference. Now, the only reason why I say that this should be taken for as a great assault, because the one thing they don't show is the Asian voters, the Muslim voters. I was actually kind of curious in where their numbers lie in a situation, because they also vote here too. We have a very mixed culture in New York City, and surprisingly how they only focus on the three, where there's actually Asians, Muslims, who's also in this country and also is registered voters. It's kind of like kind of surprised they actually left that out. But in any case, these are the numbers here. Now, I'm going to explain something to you about New York City and the 5 boroughs. This is very important. There's always 2 boroughs, Queens and Staten Island, which pretty much always be the deciding factor when it comes to our elections here. And the reason is they have a very large amount of voters who are registered on those 2 boroughs, so they always come out. Now, Staten Island has always been known to be a stronghold for the Republican Party. They are very conservative in Staten Island. The same thing will go to Queens. Like I said, when any Democrat or any party, for that matter, runs in this office, they really need to secure the Queens Staten Island vote, because you can win Brooklyn, and Brooklyn's a big, big borough. You can actually win the Bronx. You can actually tie Manhattan or be close to Manhattan. But if you're only going to be close enough to Manhattan, you need to secure one of the 2. If you lose both, you actually lost the race. That has been proven time and time and again. Now, here's something that's very interesting. If the election will come now, they're saying that Manhattan residents will vote 66-22 in favor of de Blasio. 70% to 20%, which is not a shock at all, because Brooklyn is pretty much almost always voted Democratic. 70-20% will vote for Blasio. Now, this is where it gets very interesting here. If the election was to end now, this poll was true, Queens and Staten Island would actually voted Democratic. For Queens, it would be 59-29. And Staten Island, which is very, very close, and I'm not surprised that it's close, would have voted 44-38. Now, if this is true, Staten Island would have voted Democratic for the first time in a long time. They rarely vote Democratic there in that borough. It's very, like I said, it's very, very conservative. Some areas are very GOP-ish when it comes to the voting in Staten Island. So that is a very big, tall tale that Loha has to actually overcome. And let's be honest, there's no poll out there that says he's actually cut the lead in half. If anything else, the lead has actually widened. And that's something that's not good, especially when he's pushing, and he is pushing hard in his campaign. But right now, nobody's really feeling him. Nobody's really saying anything. And unless something major happens where the candidate steps on his toes and says something very, very wrong that will turn off the voters, this may be looking like a blowout. Like I said, these are just numbers, but it is tall tail numbers that I think that Lohan should really seriously take into consideration. My hats off to AM. They really did their homework. They did a lot of stuff. There was even some numbers that I just didn't even bother to touch into, but they did a very, very good job in terms of covering it as well as they should, because it is a very big, important race for New York, because it's an end of the era as we speak. It's a very end of a long era, and whoever takes Bloomberg's place has a strong task ahead of him. Those are not easy shoes. Whether you like the man or not, he does leave behind a legacy, and for the most part, he done a favorable job. A lot of positives I don't like from him, but in all, I cannot then sit here and say that he didn't do a bad job. He did a favorable job, and that guy's going to have to, step up to the plate and say, okay, these are the issues that we're all having now, especially with the housing, especially with the schools, especially with cost of living in the city. How are you going to what are you going to do to bring that down and bring it down to where everybody can live here and work here in the city that everyone loves and want to grow here? So that's the main issue for New York. I'll leave that guys up to you guys to leave a comment on. I know it took a lot longer than usual, but this is something that is very important in New York, especially for those outside of the city who is dealing with this. They should be paying close attention, especially in these elections. As for the question, do I think that Lohan was hurt by what was going on with the shutdown? Honestly, no, because like I said, this was already been established that he was already trailing the moment he got into when he was doing the nominee, and he never actually gained momentum. And like I said, a lot of people was more concerned with what he was going to do than linking him to the Tea Party or the Republicans who was responsible for the shutdown to begin with. So no, I don't think that's the big issue. But he's going to have to step up to the plate and say, hey, look, this is what I am, this is what I believe in, and explain to them, prove to them as a voter, I'm one of them, why I should give my vote to him. But then again, we still got a few weeks to go, so let's see what happens from there. Now let's move on to the Tea Party. Young Turks brought this up, I believe, in their video. I'm gonna bring it up again because it is something that I find not shocking, but a lot of people have. It's pretty much saying it right front out that they are openly racist party. That some of the stuff they have done, some of the signs they have posted over the years, pretty much proven that. And according to the Huffington Post, we'll leave a link below along with the video confirmation. The Tea Party and the Republican leaders have been quick to condemn Representative Alan Grayson, the Democrat of Florida, for his recent comparison to the Tea Party and the Ku Klux Klan, but vowed racist involvement in the white nationalist movement might beg to agree with the Florida Democrat. Now, what that means is that there's a supremacists that say, yeah, they're all racist. They represent what we represent, and that is something that you have seen a lot with these representatives over the past few years, especially with Ted Cruz and his latest comments, which I will get to after this article. But it pretty much turns out that the supremacists did say, yeah, they're all a racist party. The KKK, for its part, isn't sure whether the hood fits. The Tea Party is a very widespread organization, and there's many Tea Party groups in the country, so I don't know if any are necessarily even in agreement with each other. Pastor Thomas Robb, National Director of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, told Huffington Post. Likewise, the Klan people use the phrase "Klans who are not associated with us." That is, I would be 100% opposed to. The article also says here, it's hard to come up with the name of the groups and say, well, how do you compare with other groups? He added, they're like asking First Baptist churches in Dallas whether they agree with Methodist Church in Birmingham or even Baptist Church in Birmingham. So it's very difficult to say how to compare with the Tea Party. But the conversation continues beyond even the Klan itself, and insight into how openly racist people view the Tea Party can be glanced from a long-running debate amongst white supremacists and its website, stormfront.org, whose memento is White Pride Worldwide, is among the most popular white nationalists. WN in the community lecture gathers spots online and discussions of the Tea Party is a regular part of the chatter on a trend starting in 2011 and still active recently, debates just how racist the Tea Party is. In the evil upside down world of white supremacy, the label of racist is meant as a compliment, and to many Stormfront posters, the Tea Party earns its high remark. So, yeah, this is a very deep article. I'm not going to go any further because if I go any further, I'll be spending 6 minutes here because it's a very long article. I'll leave a link below. But this is something that, why is anybody surprised by this? Why? I mean, we already know what the Tea Party was. Most of them is. We heard some of them, pretty much hinted on Obama's color of his skin. So why should this be a shock to anyone? When even a supremacist said that, yeah, when they speak about white power, the Tea Party comes to mind. Take a look at some of the posters that they have done over years. Even Huffington Post made their business to show you the posters and how they feel that Obama is actually going to put white slavery in this country. It's absurd, but there's a lot of people who think this way, and unfortunately, these are the people who are in power isn't actually keeping any of this in check. So yeah, this is a very serious situation. This is a serious issue that the Tea Party face, and luckily now with their antics, what they have with the shutdown and everything else, people are seeing them for what they really are. And right now they're not in the favorable eyes of the overall American people, but unfortunately they still got power, and unless they are completely taken out of the picture as in terms of votes, they're going to still have a strong say in politics, at least from at least another few years, or at least until one more year until the midterms comes up. Because as long as they still in power, as long as they still have that strong voice and in terms of even manipulating their own parties, this is going to be an issue that the American people is going to have to face until at least they decide enough, get out. And that I don't see that happening until at least midterm elections. Well, let's move on to Ted Cruz. Cruz has said something that pretty much pissed off not just some people in this country, but in other countries as well. I'm just going to read the article here. It says, Ted Cruz Nigerian email scammer joke offended taxing Nigerian community. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican representative, recent joke compared those running the Obamacare website, which by the way is just mind-boggling how messed up that website has become, to the Nigerian email scammers. Now, before I even go any further, anyone who got an email had at least one of these before. It's one of those Nigerian things where somebody is in a concentration camp or in a camp to protect them, and they have all this money, and they can't use this money to get out, and they need your help to get that money out of the country. And if you help them, they'll give you some lump sum cash. It's always something about the minister or someone who died and left them all this money. You know this. You know the deal. So he's comparing that to that situation there. This has drawn criticism from Houston Nigerian community, according to local ABC affiliate KTRK. Have you all noticed, and this is what he said, and this is what his quote, have you all noticed If you all noticed, you know that the Nigerian email scammers cruise asked the crowd at the Houston rally on Monday. Um, they have been less active lately because they have been hired to run the Obamacare website. Cruz compared told the KTRK the senior was just making a joke based on the comments, email scams, and meant no offense, but the Nigerian community wasn't laughing. Reverend Flex Alta, pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, told KTRT that he received a phone call about the comments throughout the day. I am too sure that the motivation behind that. I'm not too sure about the motivation behind that, but anyway, the statement has been made, and it is a devastating effect in my mind. Of Nigerians, because we don't want to identify the country with anything negative. I'm not saying all Nigerians are perfect. Uh, the joke about Nigerian scammers, I wonder how much off the cuff that really was, and how the calculated uh, was to appeal to Senator Cruz base, many of who believe that the president is from Africa. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much the whole gist of the story. Look, I'm just going to be very straight up for it. In terms of the scams concerned, yeah, a lot of them comes from Africa. At least you assume they come from Africa. You don't know. They could be coming from Chicago for all we know. We all face it. We all know what that is. For Cruz to say it in the way he has, I'm pretty sure he meant. I'm hoping he didn't meant nothing by that. But again, with the situation when I just talked about the Tea Party, and he is a Tea Party Republican, by the way, that's the last thing you want to have in your jacket. And already you're not well liked even in the member of your own Republican Party. Why would you even further that with the voters? So something you want to keep in mind of when you make a joke like that. It is very, very. It's pretty much in poor taste, especially with your reputation right now. But then again, it may be overlooked. It may be taken out of context. Who knows? I'm gonna leave that, guys, up to you. But to me, in terms of the website concern, I'm not a very thrilled man about that, especially since they had time to actually really fix this 4 years to be exact. So to hear that they're having this much problem still raise a lot of questions of just who was responsible for who and for what. Again, I'll leave a link to this video. You guys can check it out yourself. But I'm moving right on. And I am moving on to the weird file. Look, these stories, when I get the weird files from HuffPost, it's just, sometimes they're weird, sometimes I wonder why they're so weird. But this one, I find weird. On one side, I can understand the school. On the other side, really, we went to this now. We're banning stuff that's really shouldn't even be of a relevance. Twerking. Yes, twerking has become the news of the hour. And according to this article, a Maryland high school had banned twerking because some kids feel left out. Not because it's over-sexualized, not because it's just plain stupid. It's because there are some kids in the school that feels left out. Wow. A Maryland high school has officially banned twerking and other forms of sexual provocative moves from its homecoming dance. In order to attend to the event, students at Annapolis High School and their parents will have to sign a dance contract prohibiting sexually explicit behavior. CBS Baltimore reports. See, I'm going to stop right there. This is where this more comes down to. This sounds more like it. Not because when I saw this article, and when you guys look at it, you see what I'm talking about here. When I saw this article, I saw twerking ban from Maryland high school because they feel left out. Where if you read the very first paragraph, that's totally the opposite of what is being said. They should have just renamed the title, because this makes more sense than having a kid feel left out. It doesn't even make no sense. Alright? Just want to make that be known. That means no grinding, intimate touching, or dancing with your buttocks touching or in the air. Capital Gillette reports that the contract also bans making out, skimping dresses, and stimulated sex. If you don't have a contract, you can't get in. If you break it, you'll get kicked out. Similar bans have been instructed by high schools and Ardell County across the nation. Media outlet reports on the ban have pointed at Monty Cyrus. I'm glad they keep blaming Monty Cyrus for this, even though twerking's been around for a lot longer before Monty Cyrus got around. But MTV Music Award performer as an example of twerking newfound performance in the mainstream pop culture. School officials told the Capital Gillette that ranchy dancing alienated some students. No, it don't. No, it don't. It's just inappropriate. Let's just call it like it is. It's inappropriate, and it shouldn't be done like that. Period. This is the lamest excuse I've ever had. Like the first couple of paragraphs I've read makes more better sense than saying an alien student. Come on. Let's be real here. This unfortunately has become the norm. Some of the crazy dancing that makes others feel uncomfortable. Annapolis principal Susan Conda told the newspaper some kids feel left out because they're dancing, because of the dancing that occurs. It's just inappropriate. Whatever. I'll let you guys leave in the comment section. Indianapolis students interviewed by CBS Baltimore didn't seem too upset about the twerking ban. Could it be because summer hottest dance trend is already past? Yeah, probably. Well, maybe it wasn't in their on their mind to begin with. I know my parents would never know what that was, but now they know what twerking is, student Valley Green told the station. And that's pretty much it. I'll leave a link below. Like I said again, am I upset about the ban? No. No. I mean, that's inappropriate dancing. There's a time and place for something like that. Not in the school, okay? That should not be what you should. No student should have to go there and do those kind of provocative things in there regardless. But don't tell me this because kids feel left out. I'm not buying that. You're doing it because, number one, you don't want that kind of sexual behavior happening in the dance floor inside the school. Period. That's all. Don't blame Monty Cyrus. The Monty Cyrus had nothing to do with that. Just basically say, look, I don't want provocative dancing, period. Your school have a right to do that. I'm not going to argue about that. And if you can't obey by the rules, then yeah, you have the right to say, you got to go call your parents and tell them to bring you out because you can't be here. All right? Kids feel alienated. Come on now. Kind of funny they couldn't get any student to disagree with it, because I think most of the students know that there's nothing to disagree with. But anyway, I'll leave that, guys, up to you. And what you think about the other articles as well. So if you guys have any comments on it or any opinions on it, let me know in the comment section. I'll leave links to all the videos as usual. But until then, this is J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.